Hello, my girls. Welcome back to the podcast. How are we doing? How's our week going? I appreciate your patience on not having an episode last week. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw we were in Florida on a little spring break vacation, Dylan and I, and honestly, highly recommend taking a spring break. That was our first time ever doing like a full week spring break vacation, and I have to say, I'm feeling so relaxed and like renewed coming back to Nashville. Turning off your phone mostly for a week and not trying to be productive and just like laying horizontal eating guacamole by the pool was everything that I needed and more. And I just feel like we've still been getting back to a place of normalcy, and not even Dylan. I have still been getting back into a place of normalcy with my nervous system after everything that he went through with his heart surgery last year. And just taking that vacation was so needed. And I'm just feeling really grounded and really good. Happy to be back home. We were in Delray Beach, Florida. For all my California girls, reminded me a lot of Newport Beach, or honestly, too, like Encinitas, San Diego area. You know that we love a San Diego moment. So we just had so much fun. Our friends live in Pompano Beach, so we got to see them and then spent Easter with Dylan's best friend's wife, who I love, her family. Got to spend Easter with them, got to go out on their boat, and just really had a solid, lovely Florida vacation. We came back to Nashville though last night, and the craziest storm today. We're like, okay, we're back to Nashville, and it is not Florida weather here yet. And I know some of you girls live in Florida because I got some sweet DMs being like, welcome to Florida, which made me so grateful because you know how crazy the internet can be. Like when we first moved to Montana, I got the nastiest messages from random people in the corners of the internet being like, you're trash, go back to California. So to have kind angel humans message me and say welcome to Florida was just so nice. Anyways, enough about that. Had a solid trip. Oh, wait, actually, I wanted to recommend the hotel we stayed at in case anyone in Nashville or anyone needs a beach vacation. We were kind of looking for a place that had the vibes of a Hawaiian vacation, but Florida and this part of Florida, South Florida, is like a 1.5 hour flight from Nashville. So it was really easy to get to. And we ended up going with the Opal Grand Resort and Spa, which was just such a lovely location, honestly, right downtown on the beach in Delray Beach. You can walk to the downtown area. It was all like freshly renovated, and just loved like the pool to the beach vibe, and highly recommend. So I just wanted to share in case that could be helpful for any of my girls who go to Florida. Highly, highly recommend this resort, Opal Grand Resort and Spa. Honestly, can't wait to go back. Anyway, today we're going to talk with Kate of Funk It Wellness. And Kate is such a cool human to be doing what she's doing in the wellness space. Kate founded Funk It Wellness with a mission to empower all menstruators, providing them with autonomy over their bodies and helping them make peace with food and their cycles. Today's chat is going to be all about our periods and the phases of the female cycle. We're going to talk about how to exercise according to your cycle, how to eat to support your hormone health. Honestly, hearing about the phases of the female cycle is just a tool to empower us as women to live in accordance to our hormones and our periods and our cycles. And I know what it is like to be so exhausted and really just have no soul in your luteal phase. And yeah, Kate just gave so many great tips. We also are going to get into seed cycling, which is a tool that you can use to support your hormones, support your menstrual cycle, also to help boost fertility. If anyone out there is trying to get pregnant, this is an episode for you. Kate has a bunch of really cool products on her website on funkitwellness.com that offer high quality food-based vitamins for hormonal balance. And she's also just super passionate about spreading menstrual education, which we love. It's so crazy the discussion around periods and just like the lack of knowledge and the lack of health information for women. So, we are going to get into this talk with Kate. I am so excited to chat with you today. I mean, you're the perfect guest, I think, for this podcast because we talk all things female health and empowerment. But we're going to dive right in and talk about the menstrual cycle phases. Can you give us just a breakdown of what they are if someone knows nothing?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I feel like we all knew nothing because we weren't taught, which is just absolutely wild. So,
Yeah.
first thing is first, like your menstrual cycle and your period are actually two different things, which I didn't know like until I was like 25 years old. So,
Yep.
your menstrual cycle is your full cycle and your period is just one phase. So, the first phase is your actual menstrual phase when you're on your period. Hormones are low. If you want to like accumulate or attribute this to like winter, so think like cozy, warm. This is your inner winter when you're taking it easy and just chilling out. And I'm on day one of my period today, so I got my cozy
Oh, you've
clothes
got your
on.
cozy. Yeah.
I'm all cozy. And then your follicular phase is the phase after you stop bleeding, but before you ovulate. This is when estrogen is rising. And so this phase is like creative. Your inner spring is what a lot of people like liken it to, is inner spring. Creative energy. You're really craving like a lot of like fresh fruits and veggies. Your digestion picks up. You're really just like feeling good, like yourself, social butterfly. Ovulation comes, and this is actually when your egg luteinizing hormone spikes. Your egg is released. This is like when you could get pregnant. It's really like the 4 days before you ovulate and the 24 hours after. This is like considered your inner summer. So, like, you're very magnetic. You feel very like attractive and just confident. Actually, your voice changes and your scent changes during ovulation. So,
Wow.
you are actually more magnetic. Isn't that crazy?
That's fascinating. Yeah, I didn't know that. I've heard that during the menstrual cycle, you know how we always say you just don't feel as cute. And like there is science behind that too, right?
And that's exactly like that's like the perfect lead in to the luteal
Oh,
phase,
good.
which is the 2 weeks before your period. And
Mhm.
really, I almost like to break the luteal phase up into two different phases
Mhm.
because the first half of your luteal phase is really like the week after ovulation. This is when progesterone takes over, but you still have some of that testosterone and those other hormones coming off of ovulation. But then that like around day 21 of your cycle, if the egg is not fertilized, you have a rapid like you like your
It
hormones
drops.
tank, they
Yeah.
drop. And this is like your like my little troll phase. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to get
Don't
ready.
talk to
I
me.
don't talk to me. I don't want to put on these clothes. Nothing's fitting right. Like that is very that phase. And I will say luteal phase can get a bad rap because progesterone's actually supposed to be calming. It's supposed to make us feel calm and happy and peaceful and like, but the problem is if we have any kind of imbalance going on, any kind of stressor in our life, any kind of nutrient deficiency, it's going to feel awful. And
Mhm.
that's when the bloating can kick in and the acne and the cramps and the mood swings. And so, yeah, I really do a lot of work on the luteal phase with most of my clients because I feel like that's the one, it's half the month, it's half your life. If you're not
Yeah.
feeling good, it impacts a lot of things.
And you said it's really the second week of the luteal phase that gets us, and then obviously the menstrual cycle comes.
Yes, exactly. So, second half of the luteal phase, and then you'll start your period. And then, if you do have a rough period, then that's a whole other set of symptoms we can dive into.
Yeah. How did you get into doing all this? Like, what did you have hormonal stuff in
Yeah.
your health history?
I did, and it's so interesting. So, I'm a registered dietitian. I've got a master's degree in human clinical nutrition, but I
Mhm.
always wanted to be a pediatric dietitian. It's like what I did my fellowship in, it's where I was working. And then I moved out of the country and ended up getting off birth control. And I had the worst hormonal acne I'd ever had in my entire life. It was like ear to ear, super painful, very irregular cycles, awful PMS. Like I felt like a different person the week before my period. And so I just kind of started digging into things little by little. And then I was like trying to find a supplement I wanted to take, but there was nothing I wanted to take or I'd recommend to my clients. And so then I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to figure this out on my own. And then now that's been 7 years ago that I've spent studying hormones and talking to women and just really diving into this whole world. There's so much to learn.
Yeah, and there's such a market for. I mean, I feel like most women that you speak to have some sort of story similar to that. Like I've been through that with the acne and the getting off birth control and I don't think I'll ever be on birth control again because it really messed with me. And I was on it from a really young age, like maybe 13, I think. I feel like I don't know how
Same.
old you are, but like that generation where they just give it to you as like a stamp. I wasn't even sexually active, I don't think. Well, no, I definitely wasn't sexually active at 13, and I was given birth control to help with acne. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole conversation in itself. But that's so cool that that's how you got started with your company. And we're going to talk about, is it seed?
Yeah, seed cycling. I know
Seed
we had a
cycling.
seed
I'm
cycling
new
up
to
on my
that.
background earlier, but yeah, it's called seed cycling. And that's really what kicked off my whole like food and hormones. Like I just started getting into
Yeah.
it. My doctor recommended seed cycling and a friend had recommended it. And I was like, this sounds like BS, guys. Like, I don't know. And then sure enough, like it ended up actually working
And
for
it's
me.
really just seeds. Like I was
It's
looking on
just
your
food.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Gosh. Okay, before we get into that though, can you tell us like a little more about the different phases and what we can expect? Like just maybe ways to support, especially during that luteal phase that can be so tricky.
Yeah, let's walk through phase by phase because I think that if I would have had this knowledge, like I'm about to turn 30 in a week and a half. And so
Yeah.
if I would have had this knowledge 15 years ago, it would have probably changed my life. So I want to change y'all's life a little earlier than mine, hopefully.
Hmm.
So menstrual phase, like this is the phase, and I'm on my period today, and like this is a great example, like warm, nourishing foods. Like I had warm quinoa, chickpea, like curry for lunch, like very nutrient dense. I like to cook with a lot of spices on my period, especially like turmeric, ginger, anything that's anti inflammatory, nice warm herbal teas. That's going to be just kind of the general vibe. I call it like the cozy crockpot phase
Hmm.
because like you want warm, slow cooked, nutrient dense foods. Another important thing for your menstrual phase is to stay hydrated because a lot of people forget the uterus is actually a muscle and it has to shed that lining and it needs proper electrolytes and water. And then rest. And this is the hardest part, I think. And like, even I'm thinking about my night tonight. I'm like, okay, I have a birthday dinner tonight and I've worked all day and I need to find time to go to the gym. And then I have to just like remind myself, like, actually, I think instead of going to do a workout today, taking a 30-minute nap is going to be like a way better use of my time. And so that's your period. So rest, eat nutrient dense foods, drink water, drink herbal tea. Also limit caffeine and alcohol in this phase.
And why caffeine?
So, if you think about your liver is like constantly processing all of your hormones, and so that's one reason we want to give our livers a break. But then the other reason with caffeine is it can, if you're especially having an empty stomach or over consuming it, it can raise our cortisol levels. And then this is going to create more inflammation and more blood sugar instability in that phase of our menstrual cycle where we already have some inflammation. Just
Hmm.
naturally on your period, you have a little bit more inflammation. I was actually getting a lymphatic drainage massage on Saturday and she was like, I was getting an abdominal massage and she was like, "Oh, I feel like a little inflammation over your uterus. Have you been feeling okay?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, I'm about to start my period." And she was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that totally checks out."
Oh man, I love a lymphatic massage. They're the best. I need to
The
actually
best.
prioritize that more. I feel like it's so good to hear these reminders because we don't really live in a culture that supports rest, especially for women, really, I think. So, why do you think it's even good to skip your workout during your period or your luteal phase? I want to ask you that. Like, what should our workouts, do you think, be looking like during that time of the month?
Yeah, I can layer that in now. So, like for menstrual phase, like I'm on day one, and day one for me pretty much is like I'm just usually a little more sleepy. And so I like to go on walks a lot. Yoga is also really great, especially if you do have any kind of period pain or back pain. Yoga can be really great to do some like hip openers and other things that can increase blood flow to the pelvis. Look, if you want to go on a 10-mile run on your period, I'm not going to tell you not to. My advice is just to check in and say, do I feel like I have to do this? Or is my
Yeah.
body genuinely telling me this is what would be best for me? Most of the time when I check in, it's my mind telling me I need to be doing something and my body telling me it would rather not. So, taking it easy. And then follicular phase, this is when you can start picking those workouts back up. And like follicular phase, which is where your estrogen's rising, you're getting ready for ovulation, more fresh foods, like I think like complex carbohydrates, fruits, veggies, all those like quinoa, all those like yummy, a little bit more difficult to digest foods. But then you're also going to layer in, I love like reformer Pilates, going on a jog, group fitness classes. So fun in the follicular
Yeah.
phase because it's when you're feeling confident and social.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of coincides with when you're feeling more vibrant and like you want to socialize, but forcing yourself to a group fitness class on the first day of your period when you just want to hunker down.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Like your body knows, and that's the thing. And so, and then the follicular phase, this is like your inner spring. So think about springtime. Like, what are all the things we're doing right now? We're getting excited. We're getting out there. We're thawing out. We're hanging out with friends again, spending time outside, all of those same things. And then ovulation, we do get a pretty big hit of testosterone. This is what leads to the libido boost. If you ever notice, like 4 days out of the month, you're like, huh, my libido is just like great. Like, I wish it was like this all month long. It's because you got some testosterone.
And that's because you're ovulating.
You're ovulating
Yeah.
and your body wants to make a baby. Whether you want to or not, that is what your body is
Yeah.
trying to do.
And the ovulation window, this might be a dumb question. So I have not entered the phase where I'm trying to have a baby quite yet. But is there only a 4-day window, or is that just like
This is
we
not a
can
dumb
only have?
question at all. This is a great
Okay.
question. And
Okay.
so this is something I find was the hardest for me to wrap my head around was understanding like what is my fertile window? What do people keep
Yeah.
saying when they say that? So sperm, if you're having sex or trying to have a baby and it involves sperm, sperm can live in the body for up to 5 days, which is
Yeah, I have heard that. That's crazy. I think I've even heard
wild.
3, but 5 is a long time.
5, I always go on, it'd have to be like a super sperm to live for 5 days. I think 3 is probably more the like norm, but I
Okay.
always like to like err on the side of caution. So 5 days, which is absolutely crazy. But do you know how it can live in the body for 5 days? It's because our bodies change the pH of our vaginal canals. The cervical mucus helps it stay alive and helps it swim. It's just like crazy. So your pH and everything in
Wow.
your body changes during this phase. So I would say the 5 days before you ovulate and then the 24 hours after, that
Okay.
is when in a textbook you can get pregnant. There
Yeah.
are anomalies there people can ovulate late. It's really important to understand when you're ovulating. If it's like that's what I use for birth control is natural cycles.
I was gonna say, do you use the Aura Ring in natural cycles?
I do. I actually lost my Aura ring last week. I've got no idea where it is, and I'm like desperately
Oh,
trying to find it.
oh my gosh. I just love it for the sleep tracking, honestly. I
Yeah,
and I guess your steps too, but I feel like it's the most holistic sort of wellness,
I
fitness
love it.
wearable. That's not so much like remember when we used to all do like the Fitbit. I'm not a huge fan of the Apple Watch. Anyways, but no, that's so interesting. So I bet you most people didn't know that it can live for 5 days.
It's crazy. And so that's like the biggest thing I always tell people. And then for your follicular phase, I always hear this question. I had no idea the grip orange theory had on like people
Oh yeah.
between like 20 and 40. I always hear like, well, I go to Orange Theory every day. And I'm always like, oh, okay, you do
Yeah.
you. Your ovulatory phase is probably the best time for a workout like Orange Theory. And if you
Okay.
have a lot of energy, like just like exerting it, getting it out, that's the best time for that. And then I always recommend eating lots of cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower in this phase because it helps get rid of and flush out excess estrogen so that we can move into our luteal phase more effectively.
Oh, interesting. And so, but yeah, the Orange Theory thing, I used to be an Orange Theory gal. And you kind of get addicted to the endorphins, which I do think are really healthy. But
It's real. Yeah.
yeah, it is almost like if you've ever been a runner or running 10Ks and all that stuff. But so only in, say that again, which phase? The
Ovulatory phase and like even like I would say mid follicular phase through ovulatory phase, so it's like about a
Yeah.
week and a half
So
window.
why not the early of this, like the beginning of the cycle, right after the period?
So a lot of people still just like have a little bit of excess inflammation and they're not quite having that energy boost yet. And so
Okay.
for most people, it just doesn't feel good. But again, everybody's different. So if
Yeah.
it does feel good for you, then definitely do it. I was an F45 girl and a half marathon girl, and I lost my period for a long time doing those things. So It's just like however your body feels. And if you are doing that, just making sure you're eating enough to kind of like be able to keep up.
What does your workout routine look like now according to your cycle, knowing all that you know now?
Yeah, so menstrual phase, lots of walking, yoga, stretching. I have the Sculpt Society app with Megan Roop, and I do some of their like lighter workouts.
Hmm.
Then follicular phase, I have just been in on a kick of like all these free YouTube videos. So I usually do like a big walk or a jog, and then I go to the gym and I weight lift and I do like an ab video with lighter weights and more reps, like for weightlifting. And then I'm also really into reformer Pilates. And then ovulatory phase, I love to do like dance workout classes with friends. It's like my
Hmm.
absolute favorite thing.
Oh,
And then
really? That sounds fun.
it's so fun. And then you like get to spend time together and like do something healthy and then like go get dinner afterwards. It's like so
Yeah.
nice.
Which dance workouts? I want to look that up in Nashville.
So there's like in Austin, there's like they do them at Casa de Luz, which is like a restaurant. And so it's just like they have like a
That's
person who
so
comes
fun.
in and does dance classes.
And do you go with your girlfriends to dinner after? That's so fun. I want to do
Yes.
that.
It's so fun. Come to Austin, come hang out with
Yeah.
us.
Okay. I
Um,
absolutely. I live in Nashville, so Austin is like similar vibe. I feel like I only been to Austin once, but I know I would like it.
I feel like Nashville and Austin are like sister cities. Like they're very
Yeah.
similar.
The
And then in my,
Austin to Nashville and like the pipeline is so real too. I feel like I have a girlfriend down the street that just or moved from Austin. Okay, anyway, so the dance workouts with your girlfriends during ovulatory and
yep.
then
And then also, like, if I do want to do a hit workout, I'm like F45 burned out. So, like, I feel like I'm not as big into hit anymore. But then I do heavier weightlifting in my luteal phase. I still don't do super heavy. I just, like, am still building up my confidence around weightlifting, to be honest. So, I
mhm,
do like these exercises with like 10-pound weights and body weight. And then I don't do as much cardio in that phase, but I do a lot of walking. So, that's kind of
mhm.
my total workout routine.
So if people think about it, like to keep it simple in our minds, it's essentially like a curve. If you think about it as a curve, you're kind of like going up like that, right?
Exactly. That's
Starting slow, like a
exactly.
roller coaster curve for anyone that is not watching video. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then like middle around ovulation is kind of when you're peaking with your intensity and
Hmm.
then going down. And then I also think too, so in our luteal phase, which is like the last phase, we just talked about workouts. In this phase, you're going to want to increase your protein. So
Hmm.
your blood sugar is a little more unstable in your luteal phase, and we don't utilize protein as well. I also work with private clients. I always have them upping their protein in their luteal phase.
Hmm.
Personally, I up my protein between 10 and 20%. The other thing is progesterone actually raises your basal body temperature and you burn an extra 100 to 300 calories per day. It's why you're so hungry.
Yeah, right before your period and during.
Yet the 2 weeks actually before your period, you're
Yeah.
burning that entire time. And so, and then if you're listening and you're from, I don't know what generation you're from, but if you're from a generation where diet culture was really prominent, no, you cannot just cut those extra 100 to 300 calories. You need to eat them. Your body needs them.
And then if you are, maybe if someone is wanting to eat less, not that I'm promoting that, but to do that at a different time of the month because it's really bad for your hormones essentially to be under eating during that time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and really, like, I mean, honestly, throughout your entire cycle, I would say most people I work with,
Hmm.
they are undernourished. And so, what I
Yeah.
always tell people is like, you can still be like overfed and undernourished. So, like, not counting calories, but looking at like, what's the nutrient density of my food? Like, what is this
Hmm.
feeding? Like, how is this feeding my hormones and my body? And so, that's a big thing I always tell people is like, let's focus on getting in like quality nutrients and then like, let's just see what happens.
Back to the protein conversation. I was just on a flight home yesterday and I know I need to be better about protein. I really do. But for me, it's kind of hard because I'm not a big meat gal. I just have never been. Like we do, my husband is big into meat, but yeah, I'm just trying to be better about getting enough protein. Do you think, is it 1 gram per pound of body weight? Is that the metric?
So everyone has slightly different metrics. So if
Okay.
you're going to go kind of like more standard, so like what I learned in school as a dietitian is zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So you basically take your body weight and divide it by 2.2. I
Okay.
feel like that's not quite enough, to be completely honest. I think it's
Okay.
closer to like 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of protein. But honestly, I think an easier way, like most people I work with, I'm like, if you can aim to get like 30 grams of protein in at each meal and then 10 grams at each snack, I think it's maybe an
Okay.
easier way, especially
That's
for people
sort of
who
hard. I don't think
it
I'm
is
good
hard.
doing that. That's a lot, I feel.
It's a lot. But the other thing I tell people too is like just try your best with it and like work your
Yeah.
way up slowly. And then you're actually, I feel you're going to find your balance faster because for me, like I went from being like vegan for a really long time and probably not getting enough protein because I just wasn't careful enough with it. I do think if you're like vegan or plant based, you just have to be a lot more intentional about protein intake.
Mhm.
To now, I'm like more omnivore. I'm still not a big meat person, just like you were saying. Like, I know it's a lot of protein, but I just don't enjoy it that much. And so
Yeah.
breakfast is probably going to be your most important meal. Like if we have to focus on one meal to get a lot of protein, breakfast kind of sets the tone for the rest of your day. So if you could get 30 grams of protein in at breakfast, that's a huge win. And like that's a
Mhm.
great first step.
How many eggs is that? Is
That would
that
be
four?
7, 14, 21. It'd be like 5 eggs.
5 eggs. Okay. I would be feeling a little sluggish after five. I'm usually like a 3 egg gal with cheese, or I'm dairy
Yeah, well,
free most
cheese has some protein in it too. And then, like, Greek
of the time.
yogurt has a lot of protein in it. You can
Yeah.
add collagen to your coffee. So, like, that's something
That's
I did a lot in the beginning was add collagen to like coffee and like MCT oil. Like, you could even do like a turkey sausage. I do like overnight oats and I just load them up with like nuts, seeds, chia
yeah.
seeds. You can like experiment with it. Yeah, 5 eggs would be a lot for me just of eggs. I just like I'm not
Yeah.
like I don't love eggs that much.
Yeah. I do like eggs, but I can't do 5 of them. We just came back from a spring break vacation, which was so lovely. But you're coming back from vacation. You're like, okay, I gotta get my diet. Like, I need to, plan my meals and just be on top of it. But I ordered from a company this morning that my friend told me about called, it's like an overnight oat company, and they each have, I think, 25 grams of protein.
What's it
Let me
called?
look, because she gave me one to try, and I loved it.
And stuff like that. Like this is my whole thing with like protein and like eating for your hormones is how can you make it easy? That's why Funky at
How
my
can you
company
make it
exists.
easy? Yeah,
Is like
yeah.
seed
Utilizing those
cycling.
tools.
Like
Yep.
find tools. Like there's so many companies out there that like want to do it. And I'm not like a meal prep person. I'm probably just not organized to be. I want to be, but like if you are a
Mhm.
meal prep person, great. Like
Yeah.
chia seed pudding is another great one that I really like that has a lot of protein and omega 3s and you can add your seeds for seed cycling in
Mhm.
there and you can make them ahead of time and just in mason jars and it's a really great way to get like fat, fiber and protein.
The company's called Overnight or Oats Overnight.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Simple.
it was, but I was like,
Yeah.
is that
They're
right?
really good. I'm like,
I've
now I
heard
want
really
to
good things about them. I haven't tried them
order
yet.
your seeds and pop them right in there. Okay, perfect time to talk about seed cycling. What is it and why do we need to know?
Yeah, so the reason I love seed cycling is because as much as I love the idea of syncing my entire diet and every grocery list and everything with my cycle, I just know myself and we're all really busy and that's hard. And then also sometimes like we don't need to be too obsessed with food. That's like what I do try to tell people is like we got to have some fun and flexibility in our life too. And so I
Mhm.
love seed cycling because what it does is it syncs your nutrition with your menstrual cycle and gives you a lot of essential vitamins, minerals, fiber, fat, protein, all these things we're just talking about, but it does it in a very simple way. So, from the first day of your period till you ovulate, it's ground pumpkin and ground flaxseed, 1 tablespoon of each, organic, and then that has magnesium, omega 3s, phytoestrogens, zinc, all these things that are very important for estrogen in the first half of your cycle and leading up to ovulation. Then, after you ovulate, you switch to 1 tablespoon of sesame, 1 tablespoon of sunflower, ground organic. This has vitamin E, vitamin B6, selenium, again with our omega 3s and phytoestrogens. That's going to be really supportive for progesterone. And so
Mhm.
for me, seed cycling helps with my acne, painful periods, and cycle regularity. You can go on our website. There's like over 200 reviews of people who can tell you their experience too, but that's essentially what it is. And it really is that simple.
Wow. And is it replacing what's lost or during when you're obviously bleeding or
That's a great question. So I wouldn't say it's like replacing what's lost, but it is helping you rebuild and prep for the next one. That's a great call out though. Iron is another very underrated. The seeds don't have a ton of iron, but iron is really important. Spinach is a great plant-based source of iron, and you can pair it with like berries in a smoothie and it maximizes its absorption. So, just another hot tip on if you do feel like you're low on iron.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But it really is that simple though, pairing the seeds with. And how did
It's
you like when you first started? Because that's how you started your company. But did it take you a while to notice a difference, or are people seeing a difference pretty quick?
That is such a good question. It took me 3 full months. So I had really bad hormonal acne and the irregular cycles, which do take time. So the
Hmm.
egg you released this month started forming 3 months ago, which is like wild
Wow.
to me that it takes 90 days or 3 cycles. So it takes about 3 months for the full benefit. I will say for like breast tenderness and mood, I noticed a difference almost immediately in the first 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
that those two have a lot faster, but it takes about 3 months to see the full spectrum. Another really great benefit of it is since it has prebiotic fiber in it, it's also great for gut health because I think we can't talk about hormone health without talking about gut health, and
Yeah. Let's talk
gut health
about
is
that.
really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. How do you think or how are they connected? I mean,
Yeah, so
obviously.
so many different ways. So one, absorption of food. So if your gut is damaged at all, you're not absorbing your food. Two, helping get rid of excess hormones. So when you poop, you actually get rid of excess estrogen. And a lot of people don't realize that estrogen's excreted. Well, the liver processes a lot of it, but then another amount of it is processed through the GI tract. So constipation is really common, especially women actually are more constipated than men for some reason. We don't know why. And that can lead to having higher estrogen if we're not clearing out every single day. So if you're listening, you should have one like good bowel movement a day at least.
I tend to, we've just had a gut health specialist on a few weeks ago, and I was telling her on the podcast, I tend to be like the other way where I'm going a lot, especially if I'm
Mm.
busy. So, yeah, I'm always like trying to slow down my digestion. It tends to be really quick, but I've been on a big gut health journey forever. Yeah.
Gut health is the coolest thing. And so many, like, so I also have private clients where we do like Dutch testing and GI map testing, and we like really
Mhm.
dig into hormone and gut health. And so, what I think is really interesting is so many people come to see me for hormones, but we almost always end up starting at their gut because you really have to heal your gut to then heal your hormones.
Yeah, because if it is it that if it's like leaking or you're not absorbing, your hormones aren't going to get what they need.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So if you have leaky gut, that's going back into your body, causing inflammation, systemic infection. Then
Hmm.
if you're constipated, you're not clearing out your hormones. And that also, if you're constipated and you have leaky gut, then that's like a double whammy. And then on the other side, if you have damage to your gut or like your transit time is too quickly, like we were just talking about, then you're not
Hmm.
absorbing your food properly. And so
Hmm.
it's just our bodies just want to be perfectly in balance. Like that's what they're working towards every single day. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of just that good balance with the gut health.
And you think so the seeds, implementing that is a good place to start? I need to try that now, honestly. I can't
Yeah,
believe, was that shocking to you that it's pretty simple versus taking,
it was
I mean, I'm
so
not going to hate
shocking
on
to me.
supplements, but I also love different supplements, but that's so cool that it's coming from a food source.
It was so shocking to me. And I'm not gonna lie, like when my doctor first told me, and then my friend was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that. You should try it." I was like, guys, no. If it was this simple, everyone would just do it.
Yeah.
And then I did it, and it was that simple. And then now I won't shut up about it. And it's 4 years later, and I'm like, I will die on the hill that
Yeah.
food is. And look, supplements have their place, especially vitamin D is one I've been recommending a lot. But food, like your body knows what to do with food. There's so many different things, like we were just talking about, like vitamin C and iron. Food, like, needs, like, nutrients need other nutrients to be absorbed. That's why you don't find them independently in nature.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Do you have like a biggest success story client, or maybe it's yourself, but from just implementing using the seeds?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that's most tangible for people is we have a lot of people who use our products to help with fertility and getting pregnant. And a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
of my clients, same thing. So that's a really tangible one. I love reading those reviews of like, I was trying to get pregnant, my cycle was irregular, I started seed cycling. For me, hormonal acne, I was so close to going on Accutane. That's actually why I was going to the doctor because I wanted Accutane. And then they recommended, I was living in New Zealand, so it was a little bit more holistic than like
I
probably
was
the
gonna say
US
that's so
system
cool that your
is.
doctor actually recommended seed cycling. That's amazing.
But I mean, my hormonal acne, if you can see the video, like my skin's totally clear now. I
Yeah.
never have breakouts anymore. And so that for me was life changing. And then also my cycles used to be like 55, 56 days. Now they're like perfect between 28 and 30 days every single cycle.
Wow. Will you always be on the seed cycling then? Like, is it something that you'll keep up with forever, or do you have to take a break from it?
I was on a big gut health journey and I got SIBO last year after getting food poisoning. So I did take a break from like when I was doing my elimination diet. I took a break from like pretty much everything. But when my gut is like good, I don't like taking a break. I also am in like a good routine with it. And I just like know that I'm probably not getting enough nutrients every day because I'm rushing around all the
Yeah.
time. So I just love it as my like nutritional hormonal safety blanket.
What are your thoughts on, like, whenever I'm traveling, I always take AG1. What are your thoughts on all the different greens, powders, and all that kind of thing? I really swear by specifically the athletic greens, and not an ad or
It's
anything, but
It's
yeah.
so funny because I know so many people that swear by it. From a
Yeah.
basic ingredient standpoint, I just feel like there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. Like there's
Mhm.
natural flavors and like other things that I just try not to consume. But I know people that swear by them, so I don't like to knock it till I try it, and I haven't tried it. The one thing is there is a crazy amount of biotin, I think, in athletic greens. So
Mhm.
if you ever have to get your thyroid tested,
Yep,
be
gotta be off the biotin. Yep,
you
yep.
got to stop taking the biotin because one of my clients, I didn't mention that, and their labs came back crazy. So
Yeah,
be careful with
I
that.
did this wellness course online a few years ago, and I actually used to be on thyroid medicine and all sorts of things because the podcast listeners know I had like a whole health thing for a few years in my 20s. I'm 31 now, and yeah, I had to be off of that, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, no, trying athletic greens, highly recommend. You have to report back though, because I don't know what it is, and I try so many products for my job. I really love that one.
Yeah, and like I don't know if I just like want to be a hater on it because it's like everywhere, and I'm like,
Yeah, no, I'm skeptical sometimes too when everyone's recommending something.
but I definitely do need to give it a try. Yeah, but I also like honestly like for greens and stuff, I've gotten really into like we get a CSA box from a local farm. And it's cool
Hmm.
because they send us a bunch of greens, and we've just been like chopping them up and like blanching them and just like
Yeah,
adding them to everything. So I'm a big normal greens person. I'll have to
yeah.
try the other companies.
Yeah, no, that's good. That is obviously optimal, but for some reason when traveling, I really love taking it. I feel like if I'm eating more foods that I'm not normally having at home. Anyways, oh, and I think I got off track, but I was going to tell you, yeah, I was able to get off thyroid medicine after being on it for a few years, and I really attest that to just my diet and lifestyle changes. But I wanted to ask you, what lifestyle changes do you think are the best for supporting the female cycle? Like, are there any hacks that you've started or that you recommend?
Yeah, so obviously seed cycling I love because it
Yes.
helps you get in the well, first off, number one, tracking your cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest life hack you can have because then you know what's going on and you actually know what phase you're in, and then you can implement some of these things we've talked about. But the other thing is sleep. And we were talking about the Aura ring earlier.
Yeah.
I did not realize how much sleep I need. And I am just, that is the biggest thing. Sleep, sitting down and eating real meals instead of like running around like a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I think the biggest wellness hack is though for your hormones is learning to say no and
Mm, yeah.
slowing down and like setting boundaries. And it's really hard and it's really unfun sometimes, but I do think that's truly life changing.
Yeah. How do you commit to things? How do you know if it's a yes or a no?
Oh, my friends, if they listen to this, they will laugh because I know I'm so quick to be like, no, I'm not doing that,
Mm,
which is a new thing for me because my whole life I was not like that. And so I usually just like, I kind of go with that. It's like a hell yes or a hell no. And like,
Yeah.
I know there's sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And like, I totally get that. And I will do things I don't want to do. But I
Mhm.
just like listen to my gut and I'm like, it's a no. And then like, I
Yeah.
got
Will you
invited to
just
go to,
straight say no? Like, sorry, can't make it? Or I'm actually someone that really struggles with that. I'm so glad that just came up because I'm currently
it's
working on that.
hard.
Saying
So
no, because
I've,
I'll say no when I don't like it's hard for me to say no unless I have a reason tangibly, like a work commitment or something. But
yeah.
yeah.
So I've gotten really honest and I don't know if people love it or hate it. So I'll have to ask them. Like, so I got invited to go to a dance class tonight, and I was like, no, it's the first day of my period. Like, that's not gonna work for me, but you guys have fun. But then, like, I got invited to a birthday dinner, and like, I'm not gonna skip my friend's birthday dinner because it happens once a year. So, okay, I did say
Yeah.
yes, and that will be fun. So, I've just tried to get really granular and honest about why I'm saying no. And so,
Yeah.
like, I got invited to trivia the other night, and I was like, no, I would love to hang out with you guys. I don't really want to do that though.
Hmm.
So, I feel
Good for
kind of
you for saying I
mean.
don't want to do that.
Did
That's
you grow up in the South?
no, West Coast.
Because I grew up
Did
in
you
the
grow up in the
South, and
South? Yeah.
it was hard for me for so long. Like I always felt like I had to have a reason. I always felt like I should just be grateful I got invited, which I do think it's nice to be grateful, but then like always show up no matter what. And yeah, so now I just try to be honest, and I think that has been one of the most helpful things I've ever done for my hormones is just
Yeah.
set some boundaries.
Yeah, that is really good advice. I think that that applies to every single female. No, I don't know why I grew up with, I just am kind of like a recovering people pleaser, and
It's
I've gotten
hard.
a lot better. But with living in Nashville, there's always social things, which is literally why we moved here, and I love it so much. But I'm the type of person where my social battery, just like if it's on zero, then I can't really even do, it might sound silly, but my job in social media is to be like very social and connecting with a lot of people. So if I have no social battery left and then no like human interact, yeah, it just throws me off. So I have to be kind of specific about what I'm saying yes to. And you can probably relate to this, but like as you're running a company working for yourself, you have to be specific too about your time. And it's just such a learning experience as a person recovering from people pleasing.
And I was the same. Like sometimes I'll say yes to something and I'm like, oh, why did I
Yeah.
do that? Like, and you're like
Yeah.
kicking yourself. But yeah, I've just had to get so intentional. Like, we don't have unlimited time and rest is important. Like,
Mhm.
resting, taking time to enjoy your meals, resting, making time for movement, and then also making time for connection and fun and creativity. But, you only have so many hours in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like you were saying during your menstrual cycle, like giving yourself the permission. I wanted to ask you about I was stalking you on Instagram and I wanted to ask you about your opinion on or how we can find like a love for our period. I saw your post about this. My periods have come a long way, but when I was little, they were so painful. When I first got them, I remember I would like miss school sometimes during them. And so I feel like we have this conversation as women around our female cycles like, oh, your period's here and such a drag. And if only men understood. And I don't know if that's super productive, but it is common. But how can we start to change that narrative?
This is such a good question because I was talking to my husband about it the other day because it goes back and forth for me too. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, it'd be just like really nice if I felt the way I do in my follicular phase all month long. And, why do I have to deal with this feeling like a troll for half my face? Like, but what I've come to learn, the more I learn about the menstrual cycle and the more I learn about how incredible my body is, like, I think that's another thing is like, I just never respected my body for so long and like how much it was doing. And once I started to learn, I started to respect it more. And like, I'm not gonna lie, starting my period is not like my favorite thing in the world. Like, I probably could have done without today. Because I'm a little sleepy and just want to be cozy and like eating snacks and, not being a productive member of society. But then
Totally.
I just remind myself that like if I just give myself a day to rest tomorrow, I'm gonna feel great. And so a long way to say I don't think you have to love it, but I do think there's a level of respect our bodies deserve. And so then like I'm like, okay, I respect that my body is doing all these things and that My body's capable of all of this, and I'm just gonna give it what it wants. But yeah, some months I love my period, some months I'm a little over it. Like I have a bachelorette party I'm going to on Thursday, and I'm happy that my period started today and not Thursday,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I had mine maybe 4 days before our wedding. And I remember being like, dear God, thank you that it's over. Because sometimes mine's fine and then sometimes it's really painful. It's become better though, which I don't really know why that is. Maybe like more hormonal balance or something over the last
Probably,
few
and
years.
you talking about your thyroid getting better. Like thyroid
Yeah.
health has a lot to do with painful, heavy periods.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I've never really heard about how the two are connected, although it makes sense. But
Yeah,
how?
hypothyroidism is linked to like heavy, long, very painful periods. And then
Mhm.
hyperthyroidism, like when you have too much thyroid hormone, is linked to shorter, more like erratic light cycles.
Okay. I think that I used to be on thyroid medicine for the first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where you're kind
yeah,
of like sluggish and needing to nap and all that stuff.
yes.
Yeah. That happened to me right after college. I think I was maybe like 23, but I just got off birth control. I was just having some weird health issues in general. And yeah, that makes sense. That's so interesting. I actually never
Yeah.
knew that.
So, like,
That's
it's
really,
crazy because the endocrine system, which the thyroid falls under the endocrine system, regulates the entire reproductive system. So, it's
hmm
interesting because we don't often think about like thyroid health being connected to menstrual cycle health, but it's actually like an integral part in our cycles being regular and our hormones doing the things they need to do.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. A lot of your clients that you work with, they end up being on thyroid medication for a time or?
You know what's interesting? I actually don't think I have anyone on thyroid meds right now. I have
hmm
Hashimoto's, so I'm
Yeah.
on thyroid meds, but
hmm
and I've got like a crazy, like my brother had thyroid cancer, my dad has Hashimoto, so like
Yeah.
I've got crazy thyroid stuff in my family, but I always have all my clients get their thyroid tested and I get T3, T4, TSH and the two different types of thyroid antibodies because
Mhm.
a lot of times like that's what's getting missed and sometimes especially with my fertility clients it is as simple as something's going on with their thyroid.
Yeah. When I had first done the testing, I went to my normal primary care doctor. I don't see them anymore, but here in Nashville, like right after college, and they didn't do the full panel of all the different ones. And then it's kind of missing if there's a problem going on.
Yeah, and then it's like you're not getting the full picture. They're telling you your labs are normal, but you feel exhausted and your hair's falling out and
Yeah.
you're gaining weight and you're like, but there's no way this is normal.
Yeah, that's a really good tip for anyone listening to list or ask for all that you just listed off. I'm so excited to try the seeds.
I know you'll have to let us know what you think. Yeah, so it takes
I
about
will.
3 months. We have a 3 month kit on our website right now. That's actually
Yeah.
going away soon. So if anyone's listening, it's going away
Yeah.
in mid-May. So
Yeah.
that's the
Can you
best
tell
deal.
us though now about Funk It Wellness and if anyone's listening and wants to try or where should we start?
Yeah, so first, our Instagram, Funky Wellness, has so much good free information. Cycle School, if you can see the video, which we film in here,
hmm
all the things you could ever want to know. And then when you can also DM us and ask us questions. But then if you want a seed cycle, it's an amazing place to start. We make it super simple. Everything's organic, non GMO. All our farms are from the US or Europe. So we worked really hard on sourcing so we could get you guys the best quality stuff. So that's where you can find that. We have Cycle Bites, which if you're on birth control and you're listening, that's a great option because it has all the vitamins and minerals birth control can deplete.
hmm
And that's on our website. We've also got a maca collagen latte, which is an amazing caffeine-free energy booster that is also really great for fertility. So that's all on funkitwellness.com.
hmm
And then my Instagram is Carbs and Kate, and I talk about Funkit on there all the time, but I also talk about my life and periods. And you'll always know when I'm in my late luteal phase because I go a little quiet because I'm like, ugh, I don't feel like talking.
Good for you though. You're setting the example for all of us that need it. I love it. We'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you so much for all your tips. I feel like there were some really helpful tips and we're going to report back on the seed cycling.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having me. And hopefully, it
you.
wasn't too much overload of information.
No. Sometimes I'll record these podcasts when it's wellness themed or health specifically, and then I'll go back and listen and sort of like take notes on what I want to remember, you know? But no, thank you, Kate. Okay.